My mom screamed that I was selfish and my brother laughed. So I said, "Cool, let's see who pays your mortgage then." She brushed it off until the foreclosure notice hit their door. Hey everyone, before we jump into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed the channel is losing some traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can support us. It's quick, free, and it helps us keep bringing you awesome content. Your support means the world. Let's keep this channel growing together. Thanks so much. Now let's start the video. Dear Reddit, what's the exchange rate for converting from beloved son to walking ATM? Asking because apparently I've been making bank deposits instead of building actual relationships with my family for the past 5 years. Let me start from the beginning. I'm 28 male, an electrician for a commercial company. Been doing it for about 7 years now and make decent money. Not rich by any means, but I should be comfortable. The problem is, for the past 5 years, I've been paying my mom's mortgage and basically supporting her and my younger brother, 24 male. I'll call him Drew here. It all started when my dad died unexpectedly. Heart attack at 53. None of us saw it coming. He was always the picture of health. Ran 5Ks on weekends, watched what he ate, barely drank. Then one Sunday morning while mowing the lawn, he just collapsed. By the time the ambulance arrived, he was gone. Just like that, our family's foundation crumbled. Here, my mom, 58 female, was a complete mess and hadn't worked in over a decade. She'd been a stay-at-home mom since Drew was born, and Dad made enough that she never had to go back to work. Drew was in his second year of college studying communications and didn't want to drop out. So I did what I thought a good son would do. I stepped up. I was 23, just getting established in my career. I had my own apartment, was dating this girl Sarah, who I thought might be the one, and was finally making enough to start saving for my future. But all that got put on hold. I took extra shifts, started doing side jobs on weekends, and moved into a crappy studio apartment so I could funnel most of my money to them. At first, Mom couldn't stop thanking me. She'd cry and hug me, saying it was just until she got back on her feet. She'd make my favorite meals when I'd come over, do my laundry even though I told her not to bother. Drew would actually acknowledge when I'd visit, giving me these big bro hugs and telling me how he was going to make it up to me someday after he graduated. It felt good to help, you know? And to be the reliable one who kept the family from falling apart. That first year was rough but manageable. Sarah and I broke up. She said she understood what I was doing for my family, but she didn't sign up to date a ghost who was always working or too exhausted to go out. I couldn't blame her. I was averaging 14-hour days, 6 days a week between my regular job and side gigs. My hands were constantly calloused and cut up from work. I was running on maybe 5 hours of sleep a night, and I was perpetually exhausted. But seeing my mom's gratitude and knowing Drew could stay in school made it worth it. But that all changed. Gradually at first, then more obviously. About a year in, my mom stopped saying thank you when I dropped off the mortgage money. It just became expected. She'd take the envelope with a nod, maybe a quick, "Got it," then go back to whatever she was doing. Then she started calling to remind me when the payment was due, like I might forget my responsibility. Little comments started slipping in too, like, "You're a bit late this week," if I came by on a Tuesday instead of a Monday. Drew graduated with a communications degree 3 years ago, but hasn't found a career-worthy job yet, which basically means he doesn't work at all. He just sits at home playing video games all day while I'm busting my ass doing 10 to 12-hour shifts wiring new construction sites. Sometimes I'd come by after a particularly brutal day, talking 95-degree heat, crawling through attic spaces with insulation sticking to my sweat-soaked skin, and there he'd be, in the same spot on the couch where I left him the week before, controller in hand, empty energy drink cans scattered around him. "How's the job hunt going?" I'd ask. "Sent out a few applications last week," he'd mumble, eyes never leaving the screen. These companies are so slow to respond. When I'd suggest places that were actively hiring, places I knew through work contacts or saw signs in windows, he'd get this look on his face like I'd suggested he clean toilets with his tongue. Our retail? Food service? Come on, bro, I have a degree. In the meantime, I'm watching my youth slip away one overtime shift at a time. Friends stopped calling because I was always working. Dating became a distant memory. My apartment was basically just a place to crash between shifts. A sad little studio with water stains on the ceiling and neighbors who fought loudly at 3 a.m. 2 years ago, I was late with the mortgage payment because my work truck needed emergency repairs. The transmission went out completely, and I had to shell out nearly $2,000 to get it fixed. It was my livelihood. No truck, no side jobs, no extra income. I told Mom I'd be about 3 days late with the mortgage payment. You'd think I told her I was burning the house down. My mom called me 14 times in one day, each message more hysterical than the last. asking when I was going to handle my obligations. The last voicemail she left, she was actually crying, saying she was afraid they'd lose the house because of my irresponsibility. When I finally got the money to her, there wasn't even a thank you. Just a, well, don't cut it so close next time. And that was the first time I felt that sinking feeling in my gut. The realization that something fundamental had shifted. I wasn't the hero son anymore. I was the workhorse, expected to pull the cart without complaint and definitely without breaking down. Around that same time, Drew started asking for increasingly expensive gaming equipment. First, it was just games, then a new controller, then a better monitor. When I'd say no, he'd go sulk to mom, who would then call me and lecture me about being there for family and how your brother needs a hobby while he's job hunting. Job hunting my ass. The kid hadn't submitted a resume in months. I remember one particular argument about a $300 gaming headset he wanted. Dude, I can't afford that right now, I told him. I've got bills coming due. What bills? He scoffed. You live in that crappy little apartment. It's not like you have a mortgage. No, I just pay yours, I snapped back. He rolled his eyes. You always throw that in our faces. If it's such a burden, just say so. The thing was, I had been saying so. For months. But somehow I was the bad guy for mentioning the financial reality of our situation. Mom overheard that particular argument and pulled me aside afterward. You need to be more understanding with your brother, she said. He's still finding his way. It's been over a year since he graduated, I pointed out. When is he going to actually start looking? These things take time, she said dismissively. Not everyone jumps into a blue-collar job right out of school. The way she said blue-collar, like it was something dirty, made my blood boil. My blue-collar job was keeping a roof over their heads, food in their fridge, and electricity running to power Drew's precious gaming setup. And things really started getting out of hand about 6 months ago. Drew wanted a new gaming PC that cost around $4,000. When I said no, he sulked for days, and my mom took his side, saying I was being unnecessarily stingy and that I make more than enough to help out. Help out? I was paying her entire mortgage, all the utilities, and giving her extra for groceries every month. I started to feel like I was going crazy. Was I just an ATM to these people? Was this normal? I tried talking to Mom about maybe getting a part-time job herself, or suggesting Drew work literally anywhere to contribute something. You'd think I'd suggested they donate organs. I'm too old to start working again, my mom said. She's 58, not 85. Drew needs to focus on finding the right career opportunity, she added. Not every job is worth taking. Meanwhile, I'm over here working 60-hour weeks, living in a studio apartment with a leaky ceiling because I can't afford anything better, and I haven't been on a vacation in 5 years. The last day off I had that wasn't spent sleeping or doing laundry was when I got food poisoning so bad I couldn't leave the bathroom for 24 hours. My buddy Mike, who works with me, started noticing the toll it was taking. Dude, you look like shit, he told me one day at lunch. When's the last time you did something for yourself? I couldn't even remember. Every extra dollar went to Mom and Drew. Every free minute went to side jobs or sleep. I was 28 going on 50, with the constant exhaustion and back pain to prove it. Things kept billing up. About 2 months ago, I got a call from some gaming equipment company asking when I planned to pay the remaining balance on a purchase. I had no idea what they were talking about. Turns out, Drew had bought a $700 gaming chair on credit. He made a $100 down payment, then gave them my name and number as the contact for the remainder. Without asking me. Without even mentioning it. When I confronted him, he just shrugged and said, I figured you wouldn't mind. It's good for my back? His back? The only exercise he gets is walking to the fridge for another energy drink. I told him I wasn't paying for it, and he needed to return the chair. He refused, saying it was non-refundable, which I later found out was a lie. My mom overheard us arguing and jumped in, not to tell Drew he was out of line, but to tell me I was being unreasonable. It's just a chair, Ethan, she said. You make good money. Why are you being so dramatic? Just a chair. I had to work 3 extra weekend jobs that month to cover expenses because their water heater broke, and Mom insisted we get the expensive model that won't break down like the cheap ones. I literally hadn't had a day off in over a month. I'm dramatic because I don't want to pay for a $700 chair I didn't agree to buy? I shot back. Family helps family, Mom said, using her trump card. Your father would be disappointed to see you acting this way. That stung. Dad was always generous, always willing to help others. But he was also big on responsibility and earning your keep. Would he really have wanted this? His adult son supporting his fully capable wife and adult son indefinitely? I wasn't so sure. I ended up calling the company myself and explaining that I never authorized the purchase. They were surprisingly understanding and agreed to pick up the chair. Drew didn't speak to me for a week afterward, and Mom kept making these passive-aggressive comments about how some people don't understand family loyalty. I started thinking seriously about cutting them off financially after that, but I kept making excuses for why I couldn't. Mom was kind of old and hadn't worked in forever. Drew had no skills and no motivation. What would happen to them? And where would they go? Despite everything, they were still my family. There were nights I'd lie awake in my crappy apartment, staring at the water stains on the ceiling, mentally calculating how many more years I could keep this up. 10? 20? Would I ever have a life of my own? Would I ever be able to date again? Maybe have a family someday? Or was I doomed to support Mom and Drew until one of us died? Then I started to really think about how things had changed over time. I remembered the first time my mom forgot to thank me for the mortgage payment. It was about 2 years after my dad died. I'd just gotten a small promotion at work, and I guess she figured since I was making more money, the payments weren't a big deal anymore. I'd come by with the check, as usual, and she took it with a distracted nod. No thank you. No acknowledgement of the sacrifice it represented. When I lingered, waiting for the usual gratitude, she just asked, "Is there something else?" There was this moment when Drew graduated college. I'd scraped together enough for a decent gift, a watch that cost me about $300. Not super expensive, but nice enough. I'd gone without lunches for weeks to save up for it. He opened it, said cool, then immediately asked if I was also going to help him with a down payment on a car. Not even a thank you. I remember the sick feeling in my stomach as I realized the gift meant nothing to him. The real eye-opener was last Christmas. I came over with presents for everyone, and my mom actually complained that I hadn't gotten the specific brand of coffee maker she wanted. When I reminded her that I was paying her mortgage, she just said, "Well, that's different. That's your responsibility." My responsibility? When the hell did that happen? I tried talking to Mom about it, suggesting maybe Drew should get a job, any job, to contribute something. She acted like I'd suggested he donate a kidney. He's still finding himself, she said. Not everyone can be as basic in their ambitions as you are. Basic? I'm a licensed electrician. I work with complex systems that could kill me if I make a mistake. I've got multiple certifications that I studied my ass off for. Meanwhile, her precious baby boy can't even find the ambition to make his own bed. I was starting to realize they didn't see me as family anymore. I was just the checkbook that kept their comfortable lives going, and on top of that, they disrespected my career. There was a day last winter when I came by to fix the furnace. It was freezing cold, and I just worked a 12-hour shift, but Mom called saying they had no heat. I drove over, spent 3 hours diagnosing and fixing the problem. It was just a clogged filter that Drew could have easily replaced if he'd bothered to look. And when I was done, Mom handed me a list of other things that needed fixing around the house. "And while you're here," she said, "no thank you. No offer of dinner or even a cup of coffee. Just a list of more demands." I looked at her then, really looked at her, and wondered what happened to the mom who used to kiss my scraped knees when I fell off my bike, who'd beam with pride when I brought home good grades, who defended me fiercely if anyone ever tried to hurt me. Somewhere along the way, that mom had disappeared, replaced by this entitled stranger who saw me not as her son, but as her provider, her maintenance man, her ATM. But of course, you can only hold it together for so long before something snaps. About a month ago, I stopped by the house to fix their garbage disposal, because of course they called me instead of a plumber. While I was there, I noticed a stack of brochures on the coffee table for some beach resort in Mexico. Thinking nothing of it, I fixed the disposal and was washing my hands when Drew's girlfriend Kayla came in. Kayla's always been nice to me. I think she's the only one who sees how messed up this situation is. She started chatting, asking how work was going, and then she said something that made my blood run cold. "So are you excited about Cancun? Only 3 weeks to go." I had no idea what she was talking about. I tried to play it cool and just said, "Remind me of the dates again?" She looked confused but told me the whole family was going to this resort for a week in June. Mom, Drew, Kayla, our cousin Jake, and his wife. 5 people. 5-star resort. All inclusive. Then she dropped the bomb. Drew was planning to propose to her there. He had a ring and everything. The worst part? I was never invited. But guess who was expected to pay for it? Yep, M.E. I managed to keep my cool until Kayla left, then I went through Mom's desk. I know, invasion of privacy, but at this point I didn't care. Found the booking confirmation. The total cost, $12,800. And it was booked with my credit card, the one I gave Mom for emergencies only. Nearly 13 grand for a vacation I wasn't even invited to. A vacation where my brother was going to propose to his girlfriend with a ring I probably indirectly paid for too. I sat there at Mom's desk, staring at the booking confirmation, fuming. All these years of sacrifice, of putting my own life on hold, of working myself to the bone. And this is what it amounted to? Being the invisible wallet behind their luxury vacation? I was shaking, I was so angry. I called Mom immediately and asked about the trip. She acted all confused at first, then defensive. We were going to surprise you with the details later, she lied. Really? Because Kayla seemed to think I wasn't going. Long pause. Then, well, someone has to stay and watch the house? Watch the house? Like I'm the family dog? So let me get this straight, I said slowly, trying to control my rage. You used my credit card to book a $13,000 vacation that I'm not invited to? Stop whining about everything, Ethan, she sighed. It's not like you'd have time to go anyway. You're always working. The casual cruelty of that statement hit me like a slap. I was always working because of them. Because every month I had to come up with mortgage money, utility money, grocery money, repair money, and now, apparently, luxury vacation money. I told her I was canceling that freaking trip and the credit card. She flipped out, screaming that I was ruining everything, that Drew had been planning this proposal for months. Oh, now then Drew should have been saving for it for months. I yelled back. Mom started crying, saying I was being cruel, that family helps family, that my dad would be so disappointed in me again. That was the last straw. She kept using Dad against me? Low blow. Dad would be disappointed that his 24-year-old son hasn't worked a day in his life, and his wife thinks it's appropriate to steal from their other son, I shot back. I didn't steal, she gasped. That card was for emergencies. Since when is a vacation to Mexico an emergency? I demanded. She stammered something about family moments and once-in-a-lifetime opportunities, but I'd stopped listening. 5 years of resentment were boiling over, and I couldn't hold it back anymore. I hung up, called the resort, and canceled the booking. Then I called the credit card company and reported the card stolen, because essentially it was. I decided to go over there the next day to have it out with all of them. No more Mr. Nice Guy. That night, I barely slept. 5 years of financial abuse played through my mind on loop. The constant demands, the lack of gratitude, the way they'd manipulated me with guilt and family obligation. By morning, I was resolved. This had to end. When I arrived, Mom, Drew, and Kayla were all there. Kayla looked embarrassed. I think she realized she'd spilled the beans about the trip. Drew was sulking on the couch, controller in hand as usual. Mom was pacing the living room. The moment I walked in, she started in on me. How dare you cancel our vacation without discussing it with us first? I laughed. Actually laughed out loud. Discussing it? Like how you discussed using my credit card for a $13,000 trip without asking me? It was going to be a special family moment, she insisted. A family moment I wasn't invited to, I shot back. Drew finally looked up from his game. We figured you'd be too busy working anyway. The casual dismissal in his voice, like my absence was an afterthought, made something snap inside me. Too busy working to pay for your vacation? To pay for your life? To pay for this house? My voice was getting louder with each question. Mom tried to shush me. You're overreacting. It's just money. We're family. Just money? I echoed. Do you have any idea how much I've sacrificed for you two? I live in a crappy studio apartment. I work 60+ hours a week. I haven't been on a vacation in 5 years. Also, you can live in this nice house and Drew can sit on his ass all day. Tropwrecker. Drew stood up then, getting in my face. Don't act like you're some kind of saint. You choose to help us. Nobody's forcing you. That's when Kayla spoke up, surprising everyone. Drew, he has a point. You guys never even invited him on the trip. That's messed up. Drew rounded on her. Whose side are you on? The side that isn't taking advantage of someone, she shot back. Drew looked genuinely shocked, like it had never occurred to him that what they were doing might be wrong. Mom tried to regain control of the situation. Nobody's taking advantage of anyone. Ethan helps us because he loves us. That's what family does. I shook my head. No, Mom. Family appreciates each other. Family respects each other. Family doesn't treat one member like an ATM while the other gets treated like a freaking prince. Oh, here we go with the martyr complex again, Drew sneered. I turned to him slowly. You know what, Drew? Get a job. Any job. McDonald's, Walmart, I don't care. Just contribute something. I'm not working some minimum wage job, he scoffed. I have a degree. A degree you haven't used for 3 years. Mom stepped between us. Stop attacking your brother. He's still finding his path. And I'm done funding his journey, I said flatly. The room went silent. Even Drew looked startled. What does that mean? Mom asked quietly. It means I'm done. No more mortgage payments. No more utilities. No more bailing you out every time something breaks. Drew is going to handle this on his way to find his path. Drew laughed, but it sounded forced. Yeah, right. You always say that, but you never follow through. Mom nodded confidently. He's right. You wouldn't let us lose the house. I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app right in front of them, and canceled the auto payment for next month's mortgage. Watch me. The looks on their faces were priceless. Complete shock. They really didn't think I would do it. You can't be serious, Mom said, her voice shaking a little. Dead serious, I replied. I'm done being used. Drew's smugness was gone, replaced by something like panic. Dude, come on. You know we depend on you. That's the problem, I said. You've been dependent for so long you forgot how to stand on your own. Well, it's time to remember. I turned to leave, but Mom grabbed my arm. Ethan, please, we need you. I pulled away gently. No, Mom. You need my money. There's a difference. And as I walked to the door, Drew called after me. So that's it? You're just going to abandon your family and let us starve? I stopped and looked back at them. I've given you 5 years of my life, thousands of dollars, countless hours of work, and all I asked for was a little appreciation. But you couldn't even give me that. Mom was crying now, real tears. Please don't do this to us. I'm not doing anything to you, I said. I'm finally doing something for me. And I walked out. Driving away from that house, I felt this strange mix of emotions. Relief, sadness, anger, guilt, but mostly this weightless feeling, like I'd been carrying a boulder for years and finally set it down. That night, I sat in my crappy little studio apartment and did something I hadn't done in years. I made a budget for myself, just for me. It was bizarre to look at my income and not immediately subtract the mortgage, the utilities, the emergency expenses that always seem to crop up. For the first time in 5 years, my money was my own. The aftermath was exactly what you'd expect. First came the disbelief, a flurry of texts and calls saying I couldn't really mean it, that I would change my mind. Mom left voicemails saying she knew I was just upset and would come to my senses. Ethan, honey, I know you're angry about the trip. We should have handled it differently. Call me back and we'll figure something out. Then Drew's messages. Way to overreact, bro. Mom's freaking out. Call her. And point. Dude, the mortgage is due next week. Stop being a drama queen. When they realized I was serious, the tone changed. Drew sent a text calling me every name in the book, said I was dead to him, that I was a selfish piece of shit who never really cared about family. Mom left tearful messages about how she might become homeless. How could I do this to my own mother? What would Dad think? I blocked their numbers after a week of this. Changed my email too, but that didn't stop them from trying to reach me through other people. My cousin Jake called to tell me I was tearing the family apart. A coworker told me my mom had shown up at my job site looking for me. Luckily, I was working at a different location that day. Your mom seemed pretty upset, he told me. Said it was a family emergency. Let me guess, I said. The emergency is that she has bills due? His uncomfortable silence was answer enough. 2 weeks after I cut them off, I got a call from my mom's neighbor, Mrs. Wilson. She's a sweet older lady who's known our family for years. Ethan, I don't want to get involved in family matters, she said. But your mother asked me to tell you she's sick. She said she needs your help. My heart dropped. What if she really was sick? What if this wasn't manipulation but a genuine health crisis? Sick how? I asked cautiously. She didn't say, exactly. Just that she needed you to call her right away. I thanked her but told her I couldn't get involved. After hanging up, I wrestled with myself for hours. What if Mom really was sick? Could I live with myself if something happened to her? But deep down, I knew exactly what this was. Another manipulation tactic. If Mom was really sick, she'd go to the doctor, not send the neighbor to guilt trip me. And sure enough, when I called Mrs. Wilson back the next day to discreetly ask how Mom was doing, she said she'd seen her out gardening that morning, looking right as rain. A month passed. I started sleeping better. My bank account actually had money in it that stayed there. I even went out to dinner with friends for the first time in months without checking my balance first or calculating how many hours I'd need to work to make up for the expense. At one Friday night, Mike from work invited me to a poker game at his place. In the past, I'd always decline. Couldn't afford to lose even a small amount gambling. But this time, I said yes. It felt strange to be socializing, to be doing something purely for enjoyment. At the game, I met this woman, Jess. She's a nurse, smart and funny. with the kind of laugh that makes you want to keep making jokes just to hear it again. We exchanged numbers, and for the first time in years, I felt a flicker of hope for something beyond work and obligation. Then my Aunt Becky called. She's my dad's sister and has always been pretty straight with me. The bank sent a foreclosure notice, she said without preamble. Your mom called me crying, asking for a loan. What did you tell her? I asked. That I didn't have it, which is true. She paused. They're in real trouble, Ethan. And I took a deep breath. I know, but they've had 5 years to figure this out. 5 years of me asking, begging, pleading with them to contribute something. Anything. Drew got a job, she said, actually surprising me. Really? Doing what? Working at a call center, part-time. Your mom's looking too, but she trailed off. But no one wants to hire a 58-year-old woman with a decade-long gap in her resume, I finished for her. Pretty much. I felt a twinge of guilt, but pushed it away. They'll figure it out. They have to. The house, she started, was never really mine anyway, I said, even though I paid for it. Aunt Becky sighed. I get it. I do. Your mom and Drew took advantage. But are you sure this is what you want? Though it's not what I wanted, I said truthfully. It's what they forced. After I hung up, I sat in my apartment for a long time, thinking. Part of me felt terrible. These were people I loved, but another part, a bigger part, felt relieved, like a weight had been lifted. For 5 years, I'd put my own life on hold to keep them comfortable. And what did I get in return? Entitlement? Disrespect. Being treated like an ATM rather than a son and brother. I looked around my dingy studio apartment, at the water stains on the ceiling, the cramped kitchen with the single burner that only worked half the time. All this time, I could have been living better. I could have been saving for my own home. I could have been building a life instead of funding theirs. I didn't answer when Mom called from a new number a week later, but I did listen to the voicemail. Ethan, it's Mom. I don't know if you'll listen to this. The foreclosure is moving forward. We have to be out by the end of the month. Drew's job barely covers food. I heard her voice break. I never thought it would come to this. I never thought you'd really abandon us. And I closed my eyes at that word, abandon, as if I were the villain in this story. But the truth was, they were the ones who'd abandoned our family relationship. They'd turned a son and brother into a financial resource, stripped me of my humanity bit by bit until all that was left was a paycheck. The next day, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. Hey Ethan, it's Kayla. Just wanted you to know Drew and I broke up. After seeing how he and your mom treated you, I couldn't go through with it. You were right about everything. I hope you're doing okay. I smiled slightly at that. At least someone saw the truth. The weeks passed, and slowly, I started rebuilding my life. I asked for fewer overtime shifts, giving me actual evenings to myself. I went on a real date with Jess. We hit it off and started seeing each other regularly. I even took up rock climbing at a local gym, something I'd always wanted to try but never had the time or money for. Turns out, I'm pretty good at it. 2 months after I cut them off, I finally got my own place. Not just a better apartment, but a small house. I made the down payment with money I had saved, money that would have gone to Mom and Drew in the past. The day I moved in, I got a letter in the mail. No return address, but I recognized Mom's handwriting. Inside was a short note. Period. The house is gone. We're in a 2-bedroom apartment now. Drew sleeps on the couch. He's working full-time at the call center. I got a job as a cashier at the grocery store. It's not much, but it's something. I kept thinking you'd come back. You always did before. I see now that you meant it this time. I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted you to know we're surviving. Mom, no apology, no acknowledgement of how they treated me. Just a statement of fact. They were surviving. And you know what? So was I. For the first time in years, I was more than surviving. I was living. It's been 6 months now since I cut them off. I've heard through family that Mom and Drew are still in that apartment. Drew got promoted at the call center. Mom's working steadily, though she complains about being on her feet all day. Welcome to the working world, Mom. Jess and I are getting serious. She moved in last month, and it's amazing to share my life with someone who actually appreciates me. We're talking about taking a vacation together this summer. It would be my first real vacation in over 5 years. Am I sad about how things turned out? Sometimes, but I'm not responsible for the consequences of their actions. They had 5 years of warning, 5 years of me asking them to contribute something, anything. They chose to see me as a resource, not family. So yeah, the house is gone. Their comfortable lifestyle is gone. But for the first time in years, I'm not drowning. I've started dating again. I've made new friends. I've even taken up rock climbing, something I always wanted to try but never had the time or money for. Yeah, I'm living, and that's worth everything. Last week, my buddy Mike and I were grabbing beers after work, and he said something that really hit home. You know, man, I was worried about you for a while there. You looked like a zombie, just working yourself to death. But now, it's like you're back from the dead, and he's right. I feel alive again. For 5 years, I was just existing, pouring everything I had into keeping Mom and Drew afloat. Now I'm building something for myself, with Jess, with friends who actually give a damn about me, not just what I can provide. Yesterday, I ran into my cousin Jake at the hardware store. He was awkward at first, probably because he'd been one of the people trying to guilt me into going back to supporting Mom and Drew, but then he surprised me. I owe you an apology, he said. I didn't get it before, but I do now. They're actually doing okay on their own. Drew's really stepped up, and Aunt Sandra seems different, more like her old self before Uncle Dave died. And that hit me hard. Maybe in some twisted way, I'd been enabling their worst behavior. By stepping in to handle everything, I'd given them permission to stop trying, to stop growing, to stop being the people they could be. Mom called again last week. I didn't answer, but she left a voicemail that was different. No guilt trips this time. No manipulation. Just a simple, I hope you're doing well, Ethan. I miss you. I still don't know if I'll call her back. The wounds are still fresh, the trust completely broken. But maybe someday. Not as their provider, but as family. Real family. For anyone else out there being used by family members, remember this. You don't owe anyone a life of servitude. Not even your parents. Not even your siblings. You can love people without letting them drain you dry. It took me 5 years and nearly $175,000 to learn that lesson. I hope someone reading this learns it sooner.